Checking in here. It's AJ 7:15 Eastern, just ahead of the Asia Open. Thursday, June 19th, 2025. I just wanted to touch on price feeds and how it relates to TradingView and futures contracts. You can see here, down here, you can see I'm logged into AMP Futures demo account. You could, of course, do the same thing on just TradingView as paper trading, but I've got a handful of futures contracts here on the right. And the thing is, with futures contracts, as opposed to, the spot markets, these all come from one centralized feed. So it's a good form of centralization. So you see, this is from CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. There's COMEX for some of the metals. New York Mercantile Exchange for something like oil. I've got micros up here, minis and standards down here. And so the whole kind of thing, I know I described this, but let me show you what I was aiming for. If you can see here, is like there is the integrated buttons in TradingView. Now, why do I execute from TradingView? It's because I have my my homemade annotations and markup, which is automated, and this will apply to any market I'm trading on. So I could toggle markets, and it's it gets done for me automatically. So it's a great time saver. And so ultimately, what I was going for was this, which is the ability to buy or sell directly from TradingView. So I got a market order in here, and you could set your take profit and your stop loss. Now I could care less about this drag and drop functionality, because all I need is I can set it here, and of course this goes through to Ostium's front end. But it's just essentially being able to place the order from TradingView, right? The problem of course is with the feeds, there's going to be a slight difference on some of them. So this would be kind of like the futures contracts that I can engage on AMP Futures. Now here's some spot markets. So these are what I reference when I engage the markets on Ostium, right? So you got some of your Forex pairs. These are all the Pyth. See if I can get the hover to work. These are all the Pyth. See here, PYTH, the Pyth price feeds. Same for the metals. I have Oanda feeds as a backup for precious metals, because sometimes, like a day like today, June 19th, it was a holiday, so there's no data. But other than that, so the Forex prices match exactly as Ostium. Metals pretty much exact. Crypto also Pyth feeds. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but they match exactly with Ostium. Now with oil, you can see here I reviewed the oil feeds I'm using. I would punch in WTI, US oil, USO to try and get the closest feed. I couldn't find one that was exact, but I settled on the one from, what is this, capital.com. So right now the price I'm pulling in from Ostium is 73.76. And the closest feed I could get was 73.61 over here. So within, I don't know, call that 15 cents. I got pretty close with high grade copper using the TradU feed within, well, it's closed right now on Ostium, unfortunately. I hope that we can, side note, I hope that we can get complete hours for copper. But with this one, I got within like 2 cents. The bigger discrepancy is going to be with the S&P 500. I previously, so you can see I went through several feeds for copper, indices. I was checking out, several different feeds for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. The closest one I could get, if anyone was wondering, is the Vantage feed, SP 500. We got 5970, 5968, about a 2-unit difference. For NASDAQ, I've observed 4 to 5 unit difference, 79, 75, yeah, so like 4 units. Previously, I was using the feeds from FX. You could see that right there, FX. And for this one, I moved away from it because at times the difference was, it was as much as 10 during the New York AM session, typically when I'm executing. So I was like, I gotta update this. But that being said, it's one of the things that it's, I execute on a 15-minute time frame, and even on a bigger time frame like this, if I'm calibrated to the TradingView feed where I can have all my annotations and homemade indicators that I can't have on Ostium app, or let alone any third-party TradingView integration. So I'm dealing with a discrepancy in price feed. So sometimes your stop loss gets hit early or late, or what has happened many times is I'll fall short of a target. Previous day's high in one feed may not be the previous day's high in another feed. So that's kind of, if it doesn't make sense yet, that's the advantage of the centralized feed. It doesn't matter what broker you use. It's the same price everywhere. So the broker can't, they can't slip you like the low grade brokers. They'll slip you. Sometimes there's just a natural variance. I did a video on this before. Maybe I'll show you at some point, Thales. I know I sent it to at least Snow to try and enlighten him. But this is the reason why back in the day, eons ago in February, I emphasized Ostium's feeds within TradingView. And I also covered it again with the growth plan from the agency, TradingView's feeds, Ostium's feeds in TradingView, sorry. I know it's been looked into. I think the roadblock at the time, the last time I checked in, was with price, it costing money to get in there. But, still heading into, Q3 of this year, July 2025, I hope that we can still keep that in mind and keep that a priority. It's something that I'd like to see. And I think that other traders, would appreciate that. And it'd be a way to set yourself apart. For example, as a, like a measurement, a benchmark. I know Coinbase, they've got their feeds up in here. You know what I'm saying? Binance. It's something to strive for, is what I'm saying. So I'd love to see it. Just want to re-emphasize it. Get you up to speed on some of the background. But this is AJ checking out.